Welcome to another episode of the Growth Compass. Shout out to our sponsor, Senders. If you'd like to do cold email deliverability correctly, you hit that link in the description. But without them, it wouldn't be possible to interview cool people doing cool things like Ladd. What's going on?
Hey, Blake, happy to be here and nice to meet you. Thank you for the invite to be here on the Growth Podcast.
Oh man, this is gonna be super cool. So, Ladd and I were talking about the extent of my understanding of what skilled trades is doing. And I think before we get started, if I could just hear your description of what you guys are building and also yourself, how you ended up in the position that you're in now.
Yeah, certainly. So I guess I'll lead off kind of a little bit about myself. So my name's Ladd
Yeah, do it.
Schuiling. I've spent about 20 years in the recruiting, retention, and operations side of the construction industry. So constantly dealing with hiring things like electricians, HVAC workers, plumbers, that kind of thing, and putting them out to work and building culture, so forth, setting that kind of tone moving forward. So that was my first 20 years in the career. And then recently in 2024, September, I made a leap to this new business, which is called
Congrats.
skilltrades.com. Yeah, I appreciate that. People are always a little have butterflies about leading a new charge, but I am fully invested in the skilled trades culture, what the movement is, and the need of the growth that needs to happen within this field. And it's really exciting what's going on in the skilled trade sector and the amount of growth that people can have going from one of my blogs I wrote was going from apprenticeship to ownership. So at skilltrades.com, we are a job board. It's a place for employers to go and post their open positions and attract workers to apply so they can hopefully recruit them and get them out to work for them, making money. One of the key things that we're doing here at skilltrades.com is we're in a niche sector. A lot of my competition out there, like the Indeed, ZipRecruiters, companies like that, they cover a broad base, right? Anything from your nursing all the way to, maybe a janitor or whatever the case is, where skilltrades.com is solely focused on the skilled trades industry. So we're in a niche market. And what that means is we're allowed to put all of our effort and marketing resources to try and find those qualified applicants to apply to our clients' job postings. So that is skilltrades.com.
Awesome. So then before you get into your experience with what skilled trades has allowed you to see, I'm curious about, the first 20 years when you say that you were getting contractors, getting carpenters, these types of jobs hired, were you representing the actual workers or were you representing companies looking or projects? How was that working?
Yep, it was for the workers. So I would recruit and hire people to come work for us. And one of the things that really changed in my career because I was successful for about the first decade, Blake, but the second decade is when I really hit my stride. And the thing that changed for me was I stopped looking at them as employees and more looking at them as constituents, right? I'm here to serve these people. I'm here to knock down roadblocks, help them out with whatever challenges they may face so they can show up to work 100% and able to perform. So what I would encourage people to do, especially in that role of operations, is start looking at them not as an employees, but as colleagues and people that are your constituents. It's almost, I took the mindset as I work for them just as much as they work for me. So that really helped me retain people because they found I was genuine, helped me grow because those people that trusted me would then refer to other good workers to come work for us, and was able to establish a great foundation of workers to work for us.
So when you say come work for us, you mean like have some type of partnership share with their income with the jobs that you would place them in?
Yeah, yep, typically like that. So we would work with several different contractors, but they get paid an hourly rate, so they're allowed to, earn their money that way. But, if they had a conflict with a certain company, culture, whatever the case is, then we would then find a new home for them to go to.
I see. Okay.
And me being able to listen to their concerns and address them and not push them to the side, they
Got it. Got
felt
it.
they were heard and really enjoyed it. So, I mean, I had people work for me for 15, 20 years through my whole career while I was in that role.
Wow. Hey, that speaks volumes.
Certainly. Certainly.
That's pretty awesome. So when you would place so again, this comes from ignorance specifically about, the duration of these types of roles in the industry and stuff like this. But when you place somebody at a company, is it normal for people, trade laborers to be a place for a year or 2 years of the duration of a particular project that the construction company or whoever has, or would they stay at this company like a
Yeah. So there's a couple different
shop?
scenarios. I mean, really, there's two different types of workers that I would deal with. You would have your people that are local, right? They got to go home every night, they have kids in school, whatever they have to do. They can't travel. And then you have your travelers that are typically out chasing that next project, hire a dollar or whatever the case is. So my success was really done within the local market. And the way it would work is I established such a large base of contractors and regular people that stayed consistently working for me, where they may go on a 6 month project, that project ends, they come back to me, and then we would get them right out to work with another contractor. You would also run this scenario, let's say I put you on a job for 2 weeks, you call me up, you say, Ladd, this foreman out here, I cannot deal with him. He's shouting, yelling every day. I already have that at home with the kids. You got to try and find me something else. So we could pivot and find different contractors to work for. But I was able to establish, a good base of probably 25 plus contractors in my local market that I would just shuffle people between. Now, the opportunity would always come up where Blake might call me and say, you know what, Ladd, I really enjoy working for company ABC. They like me too. They want to hire me. So we would allow them to hire our contractors. But Blake, I was in it long enough to realize that I would always finish with, you know what? You've always been a great employee for me. If anything ever changes, make me your first call. And you would be shocked by how many people you would hear back a year, 2 years down the road, because things change. Companies run out of work, construction companies do, because you're
Yeah,
always working
yeah.
yourself out of a job. Life happens, things change. So a lot of people, through building those deep connections, were able to call back. And then, they may have been hired away at that point, but now they're back working for your company and in turn making everybody money.
So what are some, this relates to, what you're currently working on, but I guess throughout the 20 years that you were doing this work, what are typical barriers that people in this industry face to either get their first job or continually get work?
Yep. So a lot of them falls within the employee because there are opportunities out there that are endless, right? And I use this term a lot that pride kills a lot of deals. Same thing in the
Okay.
job site. If you show up to the job site like you know everything and you're unwilling to learn, you're already putting off kind of that negative vibe, right? So a lot of times we're our own worst enemy. What I always try to tell people when I would hire them is like, look, you're there to be an additional hand. You're not there to run the job or anything like that. So what's important is that you're showing up, you're communicating well with people, you're respectful, those type of genuine things that I think are universal for how we operate. Um, to keep the job, a lot of it, half the parts just showing up, man. And especially in our industry, can be difficult for some of the people. But I will say, towards the last 10 years of my career, I really noticed a much sharper, younger crowd entering the trades because they know that path to ownership is only 6 years away. And it could be even shorter depending on what state you're in. I'm based in Michigan. So in Michigan, like if I want to become an electrical contractor, I got to go through a 6 year process to get my master license so I can pull permits and things like that. But I think if you have the right mindset and you go into it with the goal of, look, I'm here to learn and absorb things, you're not confrontational, you usually stick on those jobs and you're able to help them a lot longer. But the guy that shows up with all the pride and everything and acts like he knows everything and willing to learn, they typically, the foreman spell him out and say, you know what? I don't think he's the right fit for this job. And you'll hear it more than once, right? You'll try putting them out with different foremen and things like that. And, sometimes people are just who they are and it kind of kills the deal.
So in the 20 years, and obviously you could contribute to the last few years as well with this new position, but how has the industry changed from any perspective, really? Because you've been in it long enough, I think, to have a really cool perspective on that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, again, that last decade, it's changed quite a bit. One, I'm going to say the opportunity is immense out there. I've seen a lot of people that work for me actually go from that employee to ownership level. There's so many different opportunities, whether you want to start out small or big. I'll give you an example. I have an HVAC gentleman who worked for me for probably 15 years. called me, said, "Hey, I'm kind of getting burnt out. I've got to find some way to get the tools off, but I don't know how to do it." And I said, "Roger, you've been doing this long enough. You meet the criteria in the state of Michigan to go take your HVAC contractor exam." So he went and took it. He said, "All right, lad, I got the license. What's the next step?" I said,
Yeah.
"Well, here's what you can do, because you can't just go out and win a job and then have to hire 10 people real fast. The market moves too slow. There's not enough skilled trades workers." So the path forward for that was, Roger, you get in touch with companies like Sears, Home Depot, any of these home improvement places that are selling their HVAC units. They sell one, they're going to say, "Hey, do you need an installer to put it in?" And that person that purchased it is going to say, "Yes, Sears, I do need an installer." So I said, get your information to all these companies and let them know you're a viable subcontractor. You have your mechanical contractor license, you have your liability insurance. So he started there, right? And called me about 6 months down the road. And he said, "Ladd, same problem. I got the tools on, I'm doing all the work." And I said, "Well, Roger, now that you have a backlog of work, you need to start placing ads and growing your business, right? You have to start recruiting people so they can take care of more of these jobs and get the tools off you." So I showed him exactly a process that I've used as far as putting advertisements out, how to speak and engage with people, because you have to spark the interest, right? You may get people to apply to your ad, but that's only half the battle. You have to sell the vision, the mission, be very clear with what they're to expect on the daily basis. And he was able to do that till he got about 10 employees working for him. At that point, he was established and started putting in small commercial bids. For example, like on buildings, let's say there's an apartment unit that needs a whole new AC upgrade, right? He could now bid on that because he knew he had the manpower to supply the guys to it. So the industry really changed, that there's opportunity. The problem is there's not heightened awareness out there to show people how to get to that path. And that's one of the things we're doing at skilltrades.org. Our second arm is giving people resources, not only on what type of licensures and guidelines they need to achieve ownership in their local states, but kind of the path forward, and giving them some guidance of how to achieve that mission. Because being a business owner in construction is not just knowing how to do the work. Once you reach ownership level, it's all culture, leadership, confidence, leading with pride, and then having knowledge of the industry. So that's just kind of one example I could see. But I mean, the youth that is coming right out of high school and saying, "You know what? I'm going to put 6 years into this. I'm going to get a workout while I'm doing it. I'm going to get paid while I'm doing it. And this company I'm working for is paying for my schooling." I mean, I really don't see a better option out there for people, especially that may, want to have that gap year or not really sure what they want to do after high school. And we're so blessed nowadays to have tools, online resources on YouTube, that you can learn everything. You don't have to be the most mechanically inclined person to get into this game. You have to have the dedication, right? To be able to show up, because they're early mornings. In construction, we're starting as soon as the sun comes up. So 5 a.m., 6 a.m. starts. There's noise pollution. You got jackhammers, hammer drilling going on, all sorts of other things. And a lot of times when I speak to like trade schools and things like that, or high schools, it's, not only telling them the good things, but the bad things. You're preparing them for it. And once I started doing that during my interview process, not only sharing the bad things, but also, or the good things, but also sharing the bad things, my retention rate went up substantially.
So is this vision that you just put together, is that the main vision that you're communicating to people in the field, is that there's an opportunity to become your own business owner, or is it also like, hey, join one of these small teams, somebody that's leading their own business, like that's also a viable path? I guess from your perspective, like what is an ideal path for somebody in this
Yeah,
industry?
so I mean, I really pitch both when I'm talking to people, because not everybody wants to be an owner, right? Some people want to just go out, work, punch the clock, hang the tools up, and go home at the end of the day. And that is completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can still make lots of money in the construction industry. But I also want people to know that there is ownership level, because again, that level of new entry of people that are coming to the employee workforce kind of have that mindset. I'm seeing more of it at the speaking engagements I'm involved with. So I kind of play at both angles with people. You can make a great career out of it. A lot of companies are becoming employee owned, which means, their retirement packages are getting even better and things like that. So you can just be a regular worker and still be able to live a great life without the headache of ownership.
Yeah,
But
okay.
if you want to make enough money where you can go buy a couple boats and get to that level, that's really where the subcontractor and general contractor industry is going, because there's also a lot of acquisitions happening, right? Most of what we used to see is, Blake, let's say your dad was a contractor, you're retired, hands the business off to you. Well, right now, we're not seeing that as much. We're seeing more acquisitions happening. And that's how a lot of these people are becoming millionaires. I have a buddy of mine who's 35 years old that just sold one of his electrical contracting businesses. It's a small shop. I mean, they probably do under 5 million a year revenue, but he was able to sell it for a substantial price, building equipment. And then also you hope to secure the contracts he already has, like his service contracts and things like that.
So is that part of the opportunity that you're saying is changed because of back in the question of like over the 20 years, how has the industry changed and things like that? You said there's an abundance of opportunity relative to what there was before. So is one of the examples of this not only the ability, I mean, maybe it's easier. I mean, I guess I'd ask you that, but maybe it's easier to start your own business in this industry, but also the level of acquisition, like the opportunity for exit
Yes.
is a much different landscape. Why would
Yes.
you say that is? Do you have any ideas why?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example, and I can't use a company name, but there was a big job in Alabama, right? Company won it. I mean, this is a multi-billion dollar structure that was being built. The contractor went down there. They could not find local people. They ended up buying two local electrical contractors and said, now, employees, you work for us and you're going to this data center
Wow.
project. Oh, yeah. I mean, the amount of money and the amount of investment that's happening in America right now, these opportunities are out there and people are approached about these opportunities on a regular. You know what I mean? And I'm talking small to medium size, your 2.5 to maybe under $10 million type businesses. So, and yeah, the opportunity for knowledge out there is so abundant too. I was on a job site the other week and I saw a foreman on his phone. I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm watching a YouTube video to figure out how I can get this done." So, even some of us, but again, that goes back to somebody not having too much pride, saying, look, I need to learn this. It's a mindset thing. So, yeah, I
Sounds like
mean,
something I would do, man. Yeah, I should just start. I should start one of these companies.
right, right. But the problem, the good thing about skilled trades is pretty much you can't just walk into ownership because you have to pull permits in the trades. And to get to that level to pull permits, you have to have working hours. Like I said, for in Michigan where I'm at, you have to document, I think, 10,000 hours, which is 6 years to get your master license to and then pull permits and become a contractor, so to speak. So I love how the trades are set up where you have to actually work it and have hands or on the job training before you can even reach that level.
So I have two main questions left that I'm curious about, and both of them are similar. And the first one is your perspective on growing a trade company. So if you're speaking with somebody that has logged their hours, has their permits. I mean, you went through the story with that guy who started the 6 months. Now he has 10 employees and things like that. What are typical growth strategies in these companies? Because you mentioned ads, if that's something that people do a lot. I don't know how often marketing happens. I don't know if it's common for these types of companies to have outbound teams. So how does it typically play out?
Yeah, so growth is very challenging, right now. And that's why skilledtrades.com is here because we are, you know, getting people into the trades and also the drop off rate that people happen, right? So I'll give you an example. Somebody, let's just use the biggest one out there, Indeed. If you go to apply, there's like 5 different emails, verification codes you have to do just to get set up with your profile. Skilled trades construction workers are not good with technology. Okay. So there's a huge drop off rate. And I know that because I can see it in our database. So, for example, let's say, Blake, you're getting on our website, you're trying to fill out a profile so you can set your resume up and start applying to jobs, but you stop halfway through. I have on my team what's called an employment specialist that can see that going through our database. They're going to pick the phone up and call you and say, "Hey, Blake, did you miss, I saw you stop filling your profile out about halfway through. Did you have an issue?" "Yeah, it kept saying error pop up." Well, my team comes in and helps that person complete their profile so they then can come a viable applicant and start applying to jobs. None of my competition's doing that. We're just letting the AI work with it and letting it be. It is what it is. So that's one thing we're doing that's very different than everybody else to get more people in the trade. And I know 20% sounds like a small number, but from someone who has recruited in the trades, 20% is a game changer. If you hire 2 to 3 people a week, you're winning. Okay. It's not like these people are abundant out there. So, the problem with growth is just the amount of people in the trades. And that's our mission at Skilled Trades, not only just posting your job and getting applicants. Our other arm is to get people involved in the trades because we just need more trades workers out there. And I think if they knew and understood the growth opportunity was there for them and just knew kind of what was afoot, that the more people would take advantage of it. And that's really what our mission is. Right?
Got it. So you described the main product or service of Skilled Trades as a job board,
Yes.
of your .com arm as a job board. What is from your guys' perspective internally, what is what is kind of the business model or the growth strategies of growing a business that is a job board? Because I'm not super familiar with that business
Yes.
model.
And two, this is new to me as well because I just started in September
Oh,
of
great.
24. But a lot of growth in different areas. And I think a lot of this, once you establish a process that works, goes into, you can roll that process out to different platforms and different applications. So, our growth strategy started in 2022. We knew we had to have a database full of employees for our contractors to have people apply to the jobs. So we've done everything from our marketing campaigns to bring people to apply with us. We're scraping every website out there we can to grab data. So, for example, if you were to register as a journeyman in Michigan, you're going to have your name, phone number, and we scrape all of that information and get them into our database. So that's one way we're doing growth on the employee side of things. And then obviously on the sales side of things, we've had some major campaigns launched recently, and sales isn't really our problem right now. We have lots and lots of people posting jobs with us, anything from $1 million contractor to we have an $8 billion contractor that's posting jobs on our platform. But the real problem is for everybody, including Indeed or whoever you are, it's the applicant database. And the way we're leading that charge is through our employment specialist and reaching out to job banks. So every state has a job bank. If you file for unemployment, you have to put your resume on that job bank if you want to receive benefits. My employment specialists live in those job banks. Okay.
Hmm.
So they're contacting viable applicants that are available for work and they meet the criteria, and we're manually driving them in.
Wow.
This is what we do. We're combining technology with that human driven approach. And it's not going to be something that happens overnight. It's a long, lengthy charge that we're doing, but we're all in on this mission. So I think in general, the problem is the lack of available employees in the trades.
Got it. Well, hey, that alludes to another question I have for you. You must be reading my mind or something. But that sounds really interesting to me. So it is an issue of you do have two sides in order to make this work. It sounds like a marketplace type of thing to me, where you have value that you're providing. The more applicants that you have, the more people that are coming to you to find jobs, and then also the people posting the jobs. So that those two sides of your business simultaneously need to grow.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay, cool. And then is your focus on both of them, or is it mostly on the job posting side?
Yep. So I am in the sales and growth aspect, but I am working full on with my operations team as well. So I'm kind of leading that charge. And then I've got another VP I work with who's in charge of development in our platform. Because I don't know if you've ever launched a website or dealt with anything, but it is complex. You turn off one switch, five more go on. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? The fact we have a development team that works for us is great. And this is another thing I was going to touch on is just learning to work internationally. right? So until I've been on this new charge, I've always worked within stateside. But recently, I've been just involved with some of the developers, telling them things I would like to see, customer feedback. And a lot of these folks are from different countries. But I am blown away by the amount of talent out there that if you just go look, and it is a cost savings to businesses, but they're still delivering top notch results. So that's another thing for startups when they're growing. Don't just look within your own internal area. You've got to expand and look internationally. And then this has then resulted to new networking opportunities as well for us as we look to expand into Canada and into UK as we move forward, because we're making some pretty good network resources.
Awesome. Well, that you did touch on an answer to this question, so feel free to repeat yourself if it feels true to you. My first of my last two questions for you is, what is your biggest challenge at the moment, with your role in this company, with you guys growing, and how is it simultaneously an opportunity?
Yep. So the biggest challenge right now is just, I would say, market visibility. Being so new, launching in September of 24, we are making leaps and bounds, but we don't nearly spend the advertising costs that our competitors do. I mean, if I turn on a radio, I'm going to hear 4 ZipRecruiter ads, 3 Indeed ads, you name it, where what we're doing a lot right now is our grassroots marketing. But it has taken on fire. But the growth of the business and also getting employees in, it's a challenge. It's the chicken before the egg. And my philosophy is egg first, because I'm never going to go fishing in a pond that doesn't have any fish. So that's why in 2022, we started developing that database, which is now over 500,000 trade workers nationwide, right? So that's the biggest challenge, I think, is just more the marketing and network visibility to get our message out there. And that's why I really appreciate you having me on your podcast.
Yeah, of course. Well, this is super. Well, I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's like living in my head. But it has been an awesome conversation. This is a super interesting area. I think what you're doing is really important, and it's curious to me. It could be something small, it can be something overarching. But what inspires you?
Really helping people. Again, my thing went back to, 10 years ago when I changed my mindset. And I recently just turned 41, and,
Happy
leading this
birthday.
new truck. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yep. And I was just, in this new role kind of thinking, what am I doing? How do I grow? And what changed my thing was, you know what, lad, you need to come up with your own mission statement. Create a mission statement for myself. I'm not for my company. A lot of times we're always thinking about, our work, 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 and that takes away from our family, family, family. So recently I've changed my mindset of what's my mission statement. My mission statement is, I'm here to impact my community and the people I surround myself with on a daily basis. That's my focus. If I'm making an impact on people and getting them enthusiastic about the trades when I'm speaking to them, they're going to get in the trades. If I'm making an impact at home, with my kids or whatever it is of raising them up, I'm achieving my missions. Once, I focus on what my impact is, and then the rest is going to work itself out. So that's what is inspiring to me, helping people achieve their mission. I'm not out chasing the dollar, I'm out chasing the mission.
Oh, you got me enthusiastic about the trades,
Good.
which is awesome. So I appreciate it, lad. Thank you. This has been a really interesting space that I've a bunch of family in. A lot of family friends. I feel like everybody does,
Yep.
but getting to understand it on a deeper level is something that's meaningful. So I appreciate you taking the time. If someone's interested in following you or the journey of skilled trades, what's the best way to do so?
Yep. So would we go on to our website at www.skilltrades.com. We are also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We've got all the social media platforms. But the best thing to do would go to skilltrades.com and start that journey of getting your trade file built or uploading your resume, start applying to jobs. We have, no experience jobs on there. We have local jobs, and we have travel per diem jobs. So that's how they would find us and start their mission.
Great. Well, it sounds good. And I appreciate you taking the time today, lad. And I'll see you on the next episode.
Oh, that sounds good, man. I appreciate it, Blake. Thank you.
You got it. See you.